Oh, so I guess looks like it says 3 days and 16 hours ago, I finished a stream where I had been making a little programming language, and I've had a little bit of time since then to tinker with it a little bit. So I'm going to show some updates to it, uh, and I'll just jump right in and just show you what it looks like right now. So if we go to this little place, I'll shrink down even smaller, and basically this little area in the bottom here is what it looks like. So this purple string is the text of the code I'm working with. So the colon is a definition. It's going to say init. Everything in parentheses is a comment. And these are like primitive operations. So if I actually run this, of course, you can't run that string. You run the whole thing. And then we now have a debugger. So this was a little tiny debugger, and I've kind of increased it a little bit. So this is now showing the data stack. So it's a forth-like language. You have a stack of data, and then all of the parameters are passed on the stack. So these little comments actually indicate, they're kind of like cartoons showing what is happening on the stack. So this is saying that when you initialize, you're going to wind up, you start with nothing on the stack, and then after the dash, there is an object on the stack. So it's O for object. And I'm actually going to step through that, and you'll just be able to see what that's doing. So if I say run, you can see that these are going to highlight X0. I'm going to shrink down a little bit. You'll be able to see the code up here that's being executed and up here. And every time I run this, it's redrawing both of these panes right now. That's obviously going to change at some point. So let's see, you've got to find the thing. So this is the thing that's about to execute, X1. And what all it's going to do is it's going to put this picture up here. So when I step X1, X2, so now that XORed them together, and now we're going to AND these two things on the stack. So you can see X0, this is the stack right here, the data. It says this is the data stack, this is the control stack, or rather this is part of the control stack. This would be your stack trace, but it doesn't actually, these are the tokens in the current frame of the stack trace. The rest of the stack trace is not being drawn yet. And then these are definitions that really should be drawn, but I guess I never actually got around to drawing those things yet. So the intent is that would show you all the definitions that you made, like init and RW and BR. So anyway, so right now X0 with this ID, which is this little symbol, you can see that it's got that ID. If you click on it with the select tool, you can see it has some. Oops. You get to see that it has like this ID, this symbol, blah 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 blah, stroke color, and so on. It has lots of different properties, but one of them is that its ID is 000. Okay. So that's that, and then this is ID number 3, which is this XOR node, and we're gonna AND them together. So that's the next step. Boom, and now we've returned from this thing, and so now we're about to go back to, or I guess on the next step we'll be right here, about to push the symbol X0 onto the stack. So I've added this notation of symbols. I've added this notation for comments, and I'll show you what that works like in a minute. I've also added assignments in the form of the exclamation point is usually how you write to a variable in forth, although it's not usually written like this. Usually we just quote the variable name and then hit the exclamation point to write whatever's on the stack to that variable. This is a little bit different syntax, inspired by a language called retroforth. This is @ reads from a variable. So here we write to the variable name symbol or sim. We duplicate whatever's on the stack. So basically, if you look at the stack comment, you come in with an object and a symbol. The backtick indicates a symbol. You're going to duplicate, or the symbol is written to the variable sym, and then so that's gone. Then you have an object on the stack. You're going to duplicate it, and then you're going to store that, or sorry. Then you're going to read the symbol back. You've got 2 copies of this object, right? So it goes from here to 2 copies of the object. Then you put the symbol back, and then you call branch, which is a primitive, and that is going to make a new token that uses the symbol to branch on those 2 things. So if we step on here, we just step right through. So the X0 goes on the stack right here as a symbol. It's just a symbol. It's not a picture. And then we're calling br, which is now, so now we're in this function. So we're going to write the variable, this x0 into the symbol, and it's going to disappear off the stack. It's off the stack. It should be down here saying that, this thing is, assigned, but we can actually look at it in here. We can look in the definitions, and you can see there that the symbol is assigned to x0. It's a weird language, but this is very Forth-like. This is a Forth-like language now. Maybe a little more ergonomic than traditional Forth, but very similar to retro Forth anyway, where you have these little prefixes. Okay, so let's keep stepping, and we're going to do so we're going to now retrieve, we're going to duplicate, so we have 2 copies of this. When we copy it, it actually makes a copy, so it has a different ID. It's not just copying raw data like you would in a low-level Forth. For those of you who are Forth fans, it's actually copying the whole, image, and all of these nodes are being duplicated. So it walked the subtree, and then made a copy of both the nodes and the objects and the diagram. And so that little word dupe is a primitive that does this for you. All right, so now we're going to pop the sim. Or we're going to take whatever the definition of sim is, put it back on the stack, so it should be x0. And there it is. And then we're going to call branch, which is a primitive, and then that's going to make this thing on the top that branches between these 2 variables. Oh, I ran the wrong thing. I erased the stack, so let's run through real quick. Put that back. And then branch, and then there we go. So that draws the branch. So basically, every time these things are either just doing some stack manipulation or variable assignment or whatever, or they're calling a primitive that would be an animation, and that branch would be an animation there. So like that appearing would be some kind of animation, and maybe even the duplication would cause, like, it might not actually show up on the screen, for example, yet. There might be some kind of animation. I'm picturing something where, like, this thing kind of pops out and then, sucks up some kind of essence from this thing and spits out a new copy. I don't know. It depends on how much time I have to make that before I decide it's finally time to ship. But I want some kind of, like, organic looking stuff if possible. Anyway, so then we're gonna do the same thing. So where are we at? So push the high node on. So the high node is once you have one of these things, and this is the low node. This is the high node. This little dashed line. This is a binary decision diagram. So it says, if x0 is true, then do this copy, and if it is otherwise, do this. And so then we're going to go through and the rewrite is going to we're going to take the high branch, and we're going to take the symbol x0, and then the I symbol, capital I, is like the true symbol. It's in both the Smalltalk version and the Rust language version of this. Capital I is what I use to indicate true, because it looks like a 1, right? I and O represent 1 and 0, or true and false, or whatever. They are nodes, not the idea of true or what, but like they refer to the specific nodes in the database called I and O. Which I guess is separate from the concept of true and false, right? That's why they're not T and F. Anyway, so these 3 lines right here, hi sim, hi at sim, backtick I, rewrite, are going to rewrite and put the symbol T right here, because this is going to be replaced with the true symbol, the down tick, right? Or down tack, I guess. So keep going. Sim, I, these are all just simple things. And then when we go into RW, we're in here. So we're going to replace, and these are all primitives as well. Replace, God dang it. Sorry. I need a better interface. I need to step up here and then close this down. Okay, let's do it again. There we go. All right, so now when we press, or we go into rewrite, or we're going to replace, now that's going to put that there. It's going to change this little symbol right here. Boom. And then simp, yeah, so we now have this on the stack. We have this symbol right here on the stack. You can see it says, if you put your mouse over it, you see it says ID 0048. So that's this one. Ideally, when you clicked on this, it would like highlight this or point at it or something. You know, make some kind of animation of it. That's not obviously ready yet. And we're going to simplify it. And now that doesn't do anything, but the intent is that in Smalltalk, in the code for this, we're going to return a list of symbols that is then pushed onto the stack. Or rather, not return it, but we're going to push, we're going to tell the interpreter to push a list of symbols onto the stack. And those are the things that this high-level thing in Smalltalk looks at. It's gonna do all the walking of the graph and decide what animations to call, and then in very simple terms generate the code to put that on there. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do, is generate code that I can now step through in a debugger from Smalltalk. So in the Smalltalk side, it's just going to look like it's going to look something like this, or maybe like be very careful not to run this, but like, just a list of symbols like this, and I don't know what the actual commands are going to be, but this notation is an array of literals, and so basically it just parses everything as symbols or whatever, and we can just push that onto the stack, push that array onto the stack, and then the word do will run it, and so that's kind of the idea of this interpreter, is that, and it's one of the things I've added, is this notion that you can create instructions dynamically from Smalltalk, or from whatever your host language is, and then stick them onto the stack, and then execute them as you're going around. And so you can call into primitives that, quote unquote primitives, that are actually really complicated things that generate code for you. And that's I can't say that I had that perfectly in mind, but I knew that this kind of tool set would give me a lot of flexibility to do whatever I wanted to do for animation, and this is what I've come up with, right? So I think the mechanism actually works, but simp itself doesn't actually do anything. So if I were emitting, what it actually is going to do is going to push a ordered dictionary, so an ordered collection, so an empty list of items onto the thing. So let's make sure I press the right one. And as soon as we say simp, we should see an ordered collection up here. So these, I would expect the and to go away, and then ordered collection to appear. Yeah. So we told it to simplify that node, and then now in theory that's been simplified, and on the back end, like in the database, so to speak, and sorry, 1 second. Just wanted, something on my screen said I wasn't live yet, so I just wanted to just double check. So do, hang on 1 second, sorry. Okay, sorry. The small situation, my wife here, everyone's okay. I just, oh, sorry. I'm in a stream right now. Okay. Yeah, so she's got my kids, so she's got our kids, and so I gotta pay attention. That's my schedule right now, so nothing I can do about it. Although what I am going to do is I'm going to make I've already written a script for like taking all this and making a much shorter video. So thank you for anyone watching this here, but you're getting a lot more detail and a lot more improvisation than what's going to happen in the video when it's all short and sweet and compact for the other channel. So if you have suggestions or things that I should change, please let me know, and I will do my best to incorporate them into the final product, so it'll be a nice smooth explanation. And if anything's confusing, likewise, please let me know. Okay, great. I think I was just rambling and saying what do does. I think that actually is a Forth word. I'm not an expert in Forth. I learned with a language called RetroForth, which I highly recommend to anybody who's interested in like low-level internals of of computers. It's and even high level because it has like this notion of quotations, which is what being able to push arrays onto the stack and then execute them. That's pretty cool. So it's I believe retroforth.org. I'll bring it up in a second. Retro. Yeah, this one. I might do a video about retroforth someday because it's pretty cool for recreational programming and just learning a lot about computers and stuff. I highly recommend it. Okay. Anyway. I think we're good here. Let's go ahead and step. So right now, simp is actually not doing any simplification at all, either on the back end or in the and it's not generating any video, so that's why there's an empty collection here. And then I guess if we keep stepping through, it's just going to do the same thing. So it's going to rewrite the low branch now. So it's going to put a false there. Boom, boom, boom. And then now it's going to duplicate the whole. Where are we at? Doop. There we go. So now we're duplicating, and we're going to branch on x1 and so on. So anyway, you keep running and it keeps doing that over and over again. And I'm going to explain all that in the video that I'm trying to make here. In this video, right? The video that is being animated. Oh shoot. Dang it. I don't. Give me a moment here. I need a button that resets the scene, and I don't know how to do it, and I've forgotten how to do it. So I need to scene position. Nope, it's not scene position. What is the camera? Where is the camera? Zoom. Shoot. This is embarrassing. I should have figured out how to do this because I have this nice little zooming thing, and I have this bug where it screws up, and I should have just anticipated this. Excuse me. Zoomed. Make panel overlay. Scene holder. Is that right? No. Oh, I guess this is an opportunity to show how this works, right? So we have the app area, we have the overlay. I think the scene holder has a child transform, but I'm not seeing it. So scene holder. I don't want to. Wait, we go to the live view, right? And then scene holder. That child transform. And I think if you just do this. Oh. It's a GS layer. Yeah, children transformation. All right, so what do I do with the layer? That I need to have this bookmark. Okay, so if I just say child origin 0, 0, 0, I think that does it. There we go. Okay. Yep. What is that doing? Look at that. All you have to do is right click on it basically, and the tiniest movement is screwing something up. So children transformation, default children transformation. I don't know what the bug is. And then scene holder, default children transformation. Let's try that. Nope. Yeah, it's working, but okay, now yeah, so that is able to restore it. It's just if you zoom out too small, because normally the window is much bigger, so when I'm dealing with such a small window, I'm making it so small, then whatever this bug is causing it to just amplify my dragging and dropping, and I really need to fix that. But it only bothers me when I'm on camera, and so I forget about it. So I should fix that. Okay. Wow, look at that. Just even no, because even when it's zoomed out like this, yeah, this is not sufficient. Scale factor 1? No. Okay, so maybe we'll say scale factor 1, and then I think either one of those resets causes the rebuild transformation. I think if we do that, that should fix it. Maybe that'll be a little nicer. That works. Okay, I think that's better. Like getting that small is still a problem, but okay. All right, sorry. Anyway, I just won't try and zoom it because if I do it, no, even now it works. All right, I don't know. All right, sorry for that tangent. Hence the name Tangent Storm, but also I just hadn't remembered how to do this, and I need to have that in the. I need a button up here to reset that, and also to fix that bug. Okay, so anyway, I think I was just stepping through this, and the point was that at the end of it, you fill in all these things, and I guess the point that I was going to make at some point was that it gets kind of tedious to hit that button every time. So what I was hoping to do next at this point in time, first I was going to do like just a quick diff of the code. So anybody who was watching this and me in the future when I'm taking notes, I can go through and just see what I've changed. So this is what's changed, and I'm just going to do it real quick. This is the commit I made. I did it all in one big commit just so that I could go through. So sketch app, added a reset and RPN to expose the RPN property. No big deal. Beck shape. What is this? Why is this many? Oh, I see. This is not. Yeah, this is just one change I added as string so that the debugger could show it. And this is the more interesting stuff. So let's see. Let's make this a little bigger. I added stack comments to all the things that are marked as ops. Even though so these are Smalltalk methods, but now they get the fourth language. I need a name for this language. I haven't come up with one yet, but I've used the name empty fourth a little bit in my head, and I think maybe that might be the name. Although I told a friend of mine who knows a lot about fourth, or we were talking about it, and he mentioned that it's not really what he thinks of as fourth. To me, the defining features of fourth are that it's got two stacks and a dictionary, and then executes one token at a time. But he pointed out there's like immediate execution and like some of the advanced features of fourth that I don't have. So maybe a fourth light. In video games they call things rogue and roguelike. There was a game called Rogue, and things have been a genre of games. It's called roguelike, and then there are certain things that have been stripped away, and it's like a road light with a Lite. Maybe this is a fourth light. I don't know. Anyway, so what did I do? These things had been built in. So now I added the syntax for symbols, which you'll see in a second. So then now you can just push symbols onto the stack. I used the backtick instead of which is K-style rather than the octothorpe or hashtag or whatever you want to call that. So all these Smalltalk methods could go away. They were all just simple things that pushed a particular symbol onto the stack and then ran branch. So now branch is the primitive, and it knows to take the symbol off the stack. So I didn't put a stack comment there here, but whatever. Let's see what else. So these are in, I guess, alphabetical order. I'm not sure. Looks like it. So doesn't matter. So I added this thing call. So that was something that was already in the token interpreter when you ran a symbol. Now I just extracted that. So now this is the symbol. And you say I want to call that symbol, and here is the definition of that symbol, and that is to enable these quotations, so that when a Smalltalk method, or maybe in the future you'll be able to create your own quotations, but in Smalltalk you'll be able quotation is just an array that is the ordered collection, the collection that contains the list of symbols that you would then execute. So you can push that, you can push a program onto the stack basically. And so that's a feature that RetroForth has. Forth has, you can put a name on the stack and then execute it, but where RetroForth has the whole notion of being able to push what's called a quotation. So you put in brackets the program you want to run, and then you can work with those programs. That's descended from a language called Joy that was kind of like a functional version of Forth. So this Smalltalk method is part of the interpreter, really should be part of execution here, and it would allow you to execute this list of tokens and then whatever. So I extracted this logic out because it's the way you call something, whether it's a definition or one of these quotations. Another quotation is like the fourth symbol, or the fourth way of doing like a lambda, right? So it's like a wrapper around something that is not quite. It doesn't get executed until you call it, until you invoke it. All right, cond. This is not meant to be this is not part of the interpreter itself. Rather, this is an extension to Smalltalk. So Smalltalk, hardly has any syntax. All you do is pass messages, and you can, create any kind of control flow you want using messages and these little things, which are basically quotations. Like, they're called blocks in Smalltalk. So the syntax is, this is a block that takes one parameter called KV, and then this separates the parameters from the rest of the thing, and then the answer is it returns. So this is the return symbol, and then it returns whatever this expression is. And in particular, so cond is a Lisp thing that you can give it a list of conditions, and then whichever the condition that is the first condition that's true, the associated block, there's a condition block, and then there's an execution block. And the execution part gets executed if the condition is true, and then only the first one gets executed. And then, so what this is doing is, it says take that, so give it an array of associations, and there's a syntax in Smalltalk for associations. This is it. So here's an example. We're saying self cond, and then test if h is equal to this backtick symbol, the backtick character, and if so, this arrow takes an object on the left, or an object, and then an arrow. This is built into Smalltalk in the object class. It's a method that takes something on the right, and whatever it is, it returns an association between self and that thing, self and the other. So this is self here, and this is other, and this is a message to that says, make a association with that. So any object you can write an arrow to another one, you get a key value pair called an association. And then association has a key, and association has a value. And then in this particular case, the value is a block, and a block, you say value if you want to evaluate it. So the KV value is executing block. So basically loop through all the things. Detect is the loop through. So here's the list of things. Detect, loop through, and run and run this predicate, whatever this predicate is, on each one of the things in the list. So it's a list of associations. And so if the key is equal to the symbol else, or execute the key itself, because you're assuming it's a symbol, it's either going to be a value, or it's either going to be a block or the symbol called else. You're just trusting that that's the case. So if it's else, then you're going to run. You reach the end, and you're going to run. and then or take this key, and this is like or is like a combinator. So here's an expression, and once you have it, now you pass you send the or message to it, and then you pass in this as an argument. And so if this is true, this or is an argument to a boolean, right? So or colon takes a boolean, takes the message or colon, and if the boolean is true, then or colon is defined to ignore this, and if if the self is false, then or colon executes the thing. So that you can evaluate, it's short circuit evaluation basically. So basically, if you see the word else, then immediately do that and ignore everything else, because then that returns true, and then the detect says yes, I found something, and then executes that same pair and takes the value side, or the expression is true on the key side. So the key side is true. So then that, and if nothing, then the whole case statement evaluates to nil. And I actually started out with the word case, and then I changed it to cond, which is the exact same thing. Case would really be like, you give it like a variable and say, well, if it, and then you just list, things that it could be, like, if the variable happens to be 5, then do this, and 4, and do this, and so on. Yeah, so I renamed it to cond, but I forgot to delete case. And so then the next commit actually removes this. Okay, accessing data, expose the stack, RPN interpreter do. So this is pop a quotation off the stack and do it. So this is why I called, so if it's a symbol, so that way you can just push a symbol and then say do, and then you just do that token, whatever do token does, which is evaluate one symbol, that gets done. And then otherwise, if it's something that is a sequence, then we do that self call, and so we actually just pass it into the list of tokens. We assume it's a list of tokens, and then we call it, and when we give it a name on the stack, we call it quote. And so it does that, this thing right here. And then otherwise, we complain that we don't know how to do, if it's not a symbol and it's not a list, we don't know what to do, so we complain. And that would actually halt the bring up a Smalltalk debugger. Okay, I got rid of do token because I replaced do token with this more complicated thing. So I was starting to get some, I already had some if present and if absent, but when I started adding, okay, if this is a number, well, then you just push a number, and then if it starts with one of these magic sigils, so backtick makes it a symbol, exclamation point makes it assignment, and the @ sign makes it a retrieval, so fetches X, and so it's like a store or a sign. And yeah, so this is what made me want to have cond, because otherwise you have to chain a bunch of if present and something if true, and then you nest an if else. There's no else if in Smalltalk syntax by default, but so that's why I wrote this cond thing. And anyway, so that I think it came out pretty nice. I really like that you can just, both in Forth and in Smalltalk, you have a ability to just kind of rewrite the language as you see fit, because it's so, Lisp is obviously that way too. Red, many languages are like that, but anyway, sorry, what am I? No, it's my Outlook. I saw my name in there, and I was like, I didn't think that was my. Never mind. Sorry, I got distracted by something on my screen. Okay. And then the debugger. This is what I got of the debugger so far. All it's doing is drawing a static picture. This is something. This is the new right side debugger over here. This thing. So this is just drawing this picture. I might step into this later. Basically, this is a little function that draws a heading. So these data, control, and defs, and so on. We say h1 value, h1 for the HTML tag heading, and then inside there's some, draw the data stack. The intent is to draw the control stack, and I haven't gotten around to drawing defs, as I said before. So this is not responsive yet. But the intent is that at some point I'm going to make this like completely interactive, and you'll be able to have like a REPL in there and just debug as you go along. It'll be really nice. I added a primitive to the language called high that just pushes a variable that was already in Smalltalk. Same thing. There's one called low in a minute. Initial context should be part of, it's not an op. Technically, if you see this, like anything that the way it works right now, it doesn't actually check that it's like defined as an op. It just says if it's a unary message to the object, you can run it. So this would actually do nothing in Smalltalk because it doesn't push it onto the Smalltalk. I mean, into the fourth stack, but whatever. But it would, you could run it and it wouldn't give you an error. It would have no effect whatsoever. Okay. Beck's RPN interpreter low. That's the push the low item onto the stack again. Just get out of whatever node you're looking at. Give me its low branch. Hopefully you're looking at something that has a high and low branch. Load. So here I added comments, and so when you start a comment, you go back. You basically as we go through all the substrings. So we break it we break the input string on spaces, and then if you find something that starts with, all right. So okay, if your comment, then if this token ends with a end parentheses, so that's $ end parentheses is the character, and if it ends with that, if the symbol ends with that, then you go back to the previous state. So you end the comment. So you can't nest comments right at the moment. I guess maybe you could do this and say if true, then just always nest the number of comments, and you could make them nestable if you wanted. That's not done right now. I didn't think to do that. Didn't want to do that. So if you're not in comment mode, then do all the stuff that we did before. But if you are, if you're in any other mode and you see something that starts with a left paren, then if it does not also end, so you can have a word in parentheses that's no spaces, and then that would just be a comment that's immediately ignored. Or it can be the start of a multi-token comment. And then if that's the case, then push, it's not a stack, but just assign the previous state, and then the state is now comment. Okay. And then otherwise, so we're not in comment mode, and we're not in the comment state, and we're not looking at a comment. So then just do whatever we did before, look at the current state, and then send the token to the handler for that state, which is what we had before. And that's it. That was, everything else is the same as before. Pop. Oh, so push and pop are fourth primitives, and of course we already have push and pop for the individual stacks. But in a fourth context, you have these two stacks, and the data stack. When you say push, you take the item off the data stack and push it onto the control stack, and that is basically interfering with your stack trace. If you try and return from the function now with some piece of data on there, you're going to blow up your system. But it's a way to basically allow you to do something with the thing that was underneath it on the stack. So you can push something out of the way, do something with the next item, and then pop it off the control stack, and basically do something do something with the item underneath it. So that's push and pop. How you think of them in fourth. So you're pushing from one stack to the other, and then popping from the control stack back to the data stack. Replace. So this is something that was previously, I think it was called swap high and swap low, and this is just this is the code that actually changes so it takes the node, the object that you want to replace in, the symbol that you want to replace, and the new value, so OSV, and it gives you back the modified version of the third thing on the stack. So you pop off the value, pop off the symbol, and then there's a little debug message, and then I think I erased that already. And then we call in the base, we say set this symbol, replace this symbol with that symbol in whatever the third thing. So this is top of stack. So this is And so we just modify that in place. Okay, simp high and simp low went away because of that. They were replaced by this, where we explicitly push these things on the symbols and all that on the stack. And because of that, then the word simp is here. And so this is where I said we're going to return a quotation. And we just, right now, all it does is it pops the node off and then pushes an empty thing. So nothing is happening yet. That's something I want to implement very quickly or very soon. And I'm going to do that in Smalltalk. So I don't want to, Smalltalk is a very high level language, and I can do all the graphical, simplification rules in Smalltalk. I don't want to write that in Forth. I have no particular reason to push a lot of low level logic into Forth, or not low level, detailed logic, right? I really just want to talk about animation in Forth. You could, but I just don't want to. And so right now, as I said, it's just saying, well, okay, there's going to be some animation there. So this is the set of instructions that would implement that animation. And here we have swap high and swap low. Those were previously done. They became replaced. So previously they were primitives, but now I have there was already a thing called just the symbol I. Or actually, you can just type backtick capital I and backtick capital O to push those symbols onto the stack, and so then we have I added high and low methods to push those nodes onto the stack. So then that made it possible to push replace down into Forth or into the language, and then I could get rid of these, and that's it. All right, so that was a lot of detail, but there you go. Basically the same language, but now you have symbols and the ability to do quotations, and it's the actual code that I'm looking at now is a lot more Forthy, right? Like this is very you wind up with some very cryptic and terse code, kind of like J. Somebody I saw an article today. I was on Hacker News. It was calling like J and Forth and Haskell like these are puzzle languages, they called it, and I think that's kind of true. Like they always have an escape, and you can write code in ways that it's almost as if the language lets you do a lot of things, but then somebody comes along and gives you some rules that you're supposed to challenge yourself with to follow those rules. And like in Forth, it's like don't use variables, and in J, for example, which is one of my other common languages, it's or even in Smalltalk, it's like always use objects, do objects for everything. Like don't use if statements, use polymorphism. Don't use conditionals, use polymorphism, right? So I'm breaking that rule here. And I was going to say in J, it's like, tacit, right? Don't use variable names. Don't use, just write everything without referring to anything. Haskell, same thing as point-free style. And you use combinators for everything. And I don't know. I don't really. To me, the value of J and Forth and all these are not that they're puzzle languages, it's that they're very expressive. And so I don't try to follow those rules. I'm happy to use variables and things and all that. This would not be smiled upon in Forth, but I'm happy to do it. And also, this is wildly different from Forth is an extremely low level language. It's almost like assembly language. In fact, it's often bootstrapped from assembly language. And so this, I don't want to give this a name like Forth because I don't want people to think it's a Forth, right? It's more like really more like Joy. Joy is the language I was talking about previously. It has quotations and all that. So maybe I call it Joy, some empty Joy or something like that. I don't know. Empty Forth. The idea is being that it would be like just enough of a shell of a language that you can stick onto your program and then customize it however you want to get the features of the language you want, like a syntax or a type system or whatever it is you want. And these would be like little modules that you plug in. I don't know. I'm thinking about that. I don't know if I want to quote unquote productize this or not. And if I did, it would be, but if I did, it would be something that would be like a generic framework, and I would provide it for multiple languages, which I think would be kind of cool. And that way it would sit atop whatever language you wanted. And then there'd be like a spec for it, and then you would implement it in whatever whatever language you want. Anyway, because in any language you can always make like functions. You can always make a stack, and you can always make a dictionary, and you can always make you can always have strings, and then you can always have functions that, or what something like a function that doesn't take any arguments, right? And so if you have all those things, then you can put it together and rearrange the syntax however you want. And so that's what this stuff gives you. I think that's really neat. I've actually got like a bunch of ideas for applications of that, and especially like in game programming and stuff. Oddly enough, I've experimented with this for making animations in games as well. Although I didn't go all the way out and make a fourth interpreter or joy interpreter yet. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Those are the enhancements that I've got so far. And so the main thing that I wanted to do next is to run. I wanted to say run, and I think I actually implemented this so far, but I haven't done the important bit, which is to tell it to do something with the animation. So my thought was that when you start this, and maybe I don't even need running as a flag, because I was looking at animations a little while ago, and animations are a concept in Block. So this GUI framework for Smalltalk. I guess maybe I haven't gotten rid of this. Second here. These are the notifications that I was replacing something. So either I didn't clear these, or if we look at replace. Oh, I still have it. Okay, so let's just comment this out for now. Maybe we'll use it later. I was also thinking, like, in that in this interpreter, in the debugger there, I'm going to put like input and output, so you'll be able to talk to it while it's running. So maybe I'll, maybe I'll plug it in. I've got an OpenAI thing here, so maybe I'll plug it into ChatGPT. I didn't make it, but there is an OpenAI thing for Smalltalk, and I've been playing with it. Okay, let's get rid of that. So I think since base animations have this thing called is running, and they have stop and all that stuff, I think I'm just going to start and stop the animation, and just have it call that. So maybe running is not something I want on the interpreter here. So if you right click on a symbol and you say browse references, you can see all the methods that touch that method. And so I think I'm going to just remove this concept of run completely. So remove this thing, and I'm going to put it on the application rather than the RPN interpreter. So the step will just be part of the RPN interpreter, and the word run will be part of the scene, because so this will also be moved to the scene, or the application. This is going to send like some kind of event. So end is an instruction that I guess I didn't. Oh, because I haven't checked this in yet. So I guess I made a couple other changes since I made that commit. So one of them is whatever these are. Let's just go through them real quick. So I'm documenting it for myself when I come back and read this. So replace. I just commented out that symbol just now. Whatever this is, I added this, what I was just about to tell you. Tokens add the symbol called end. Right after, this is in load, so right after you parse the input string, append the word end to it. So this is like a virtual operation that you're going to force to have at the end of your input. Initialize running is false, and I'm going to remove that. That's actually not. Just revert this change. Keep that change. Don't want that there. This is going to be there. And then end is the token that gets run. And then this is going to change, but it's going to do something. So probably it will send out it should send out an event that the application can then respond to and say, okay, well, I can stop this animation. Okay, So we're not really in language mode anymore, but we're in language tool mode, but let's get it done. Let's add a button here that will this button could also do it. Or we could have a button here that does it. I might get rid of this debugger thing. I don't know. Since I have a big one now. All right. I believe this is gone. Yeah, so that's gone. That was just historical. It was already there. So rather than say RPN run, let's just delete this. And maybe we can shrink that down a little bit more. So the object here that we're looking at here is an inspector for this sketch app thing. So sketch app is everything in the gray area, and everything below this, or it's white and gray. So all these buttons and panels and so on, and the scene itself. This is a Bex version of the sketch app. There's a GS sketch app, which is kind of a generic thing, and then you can enhance it and add whatever tools and panels and whatnot that you want. And I want to add something here, so let's browse this class. When we initialize tools, oh no, it's in make UI, right? Yeah, so toolbar add a child, make symbol drop down, and so we'll say add children, and those parens were not necessary in the first place, but that, and now we'll add a second one, self make run button, and we're just going to make a little button that looks like that. So generate that method, make run button, and then we're going to return run button, which we have to add to the class. And that's just a convention that I follow. You don't have to do it this way. And PR button new. I'm not. I don't like this. I don't endorse this, but maybe I'm just not used to it. PR. Basically, you're adding like a style sheet to a button. You have to tell it what the button looks like. PR. BR glamorous button label and icon aptitude. No, I just want glamorous button icon. No. BR. This is ridiculous. You can't. You have to do this to make a button. But sorry. Sorry for. So you say new. You say the icon. I mean, it works, but you know, I want to make my own thing here. I really should. Icon is no. Maybe now. Maybe what? Icon. Okay, where did I make a button? These are tool buttons. I guess I think maybe see like there's yeah. Wait. So the low level thing block I'm thrilled with. The high level thing, the UI components, I am not thrilled with. They just need a lot of work, and I find them extremely confusing. Like they have a sensible design, but it needs more polish. I think I just don't understand it, or I can't keep it all. Maybe I need a cheat sheet. I don't know. I don't want to complain because it's people have put a lot of work into it and it works really well, but actually using it, I'm just not fluent in it, and I find it hard to keep everything in memory. All right, what am I looking for? I'm looking for references to that, but I don't see find references. So we can just look at references here. BR button. Oh, BR button. What did I call it? Yeah, BR button new. Oh, I said add aptitude, but you gone. Oh, surely. Right. So this would be an aptitude new, and then you ought to be able to say icon. Why is that mad? BR glamorous button with icon aptitude new. Okay, so you just add. You just say aptitude. Okay. You don't say new. I could have sworn you did. All right, and then you say icon. Okay, and then BR. This is exactly what I want. And then label is run. I don't know anything about translation, so I'm not going to mess with that. Run, and then action is what? Self. Or how about we say debugger animation to actually say the word animation correctly. Animation play. Animation. So that is not a thing yet. So let's add this. How about we call it debugger animation, but virtual machine animation or script animation? This is where I would be calling it like fourth or something. So let's call it, let's call it RPN or Bex animation. Bex animation. Because Bex is the name of this dialect of the language anyway, or Bex RPN or whatever. So add slot Bex animation in Bex Sketch app. Action. Okay. And then in initialize, we will say Bex animation equals BL animation new, and I did something a long time ago. So BL animation new when I guess I can show what I did. It was like years ago, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. Sorry, run the whole thing. I was looking at Glamorous Toolkit when it was like, I mean, it's like 10 years plus old now, but I think G Toolkit had only been out, like the website, and as a product, it had only been out for a while, for a year or two. I'm not sure. Anyway, I was hitting keyboard events, and I called it halfway to a game engine. So, there's a repo where I've been keeping all my notes. I don't even know what this one does. Same thing, I guess. Not sure what the difference is. Anyway, oh, I guess refactored a little bit. Okay. Oh, right, but I wanted to do something with that. Which was to look at the code and extract how the halfway game engine, find that page again, and let's just look at how, I guess, in the refactored version, do things. BL animation new when BL animation step event do something, and then B infinite and maybe stop right away. So B infinite means keep running forever, but also stop until you hit the play button. So okay, so make run button does this. Oh, but we in the initialize, we're gonna say, let's put it in here for now. Probably we will factor this out later. Let's put everything there. So new, we'll say P infinite, and we're gonna say stop. How about new stop P infinite, and then when BL animation step event do and I don't know what P is. That's probably just the, I don't know why I called it P, event. And this is stuff for that example, so that's garbage. This, then what do we want to do? And we'll say RPN step. And then we'll say RPN when, and I believe I already added, yeah, so we already had when do. Well, that's RPN, and then when Vex interpreter event. I think we just say Bex stop event. Or how about Bex interpreter done event? Interpreter done event do, which I have to create. Create class Bex interpreter done event, and it's going to be in event. I think that's all I need. When the interpreter is done, we're just going to tell that animation to stop. Bex animation stop. And I'm kind of assuming that's like a stop and then pause, right? Like you'll be able to stop and restart. I don't know if that's true or not. Browse class. See what the base animation says. Yeah, cannot be started multiple times without stop. Init start. Okay, what does init start do? Yeah, I think that's fine. So I think like if you, I think instead of calling this end thing, like maybe end should be a word that you can use to halt the system, but we'll see. All right. Animation is not running. Okay, so that's probably in initialize there, and I said stop, so we don't need to call stop apparently. You have to actually tell it to play. But I didn't. Halfway game engine, where do I call it play? Okay, so I think what's going to happen, I think when you add it to the animation, then it just plays the animation. because this starts playing immediately, and I don't give it a name, so anything would have to be done right here. Anything related to it would have to be done right here. So it must calling add animation when it must cause it to run immediately. Okay. So let's again browse the class, and then something must tell it to start. Hmm. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It can just be playing the whole time when you first start it, because what's going to happen, because there's nothing to run, and so what I think is going to happen, go back here, let's just wipe this out, and we're going to just run a new version of this. So go here to you can customize the start page, and so I have this set up so when I click on here, it runs a sketch app. Sketch app. Oh, so maybe I was expecting to see a. Not sure. I think if I run this, it's not playing. But if I play now, what's it going to do? Does not understand play. Did not. I have to say start, right? I don't know if I can do this. So sometimes you have to wipe it out and start over. And I don't. Not entirely sure how to get around that. All right, so that has loaded the code, and then we're going to run. Oh, okay, it's doing something. Okay, so it's running. It is running, but nothing is happening. So what did I do wrong? The infinite when BL animation step event do RPN step. So this should guard against anything going wrong. So this should just work. This should be called. This should be being called, and it's not. Oh, I haven't added it to it. Okay, so self add animation text animation And maybe I'll just go ahead and say make Bex animation and factor that out into a method like I do everywhere else. Oop. So make Bex now oops. Add the method, creates a method, and then move this there. And make sure to return it. Okay. That should just keep running periodically. Maybe we can even say Bex animation stop now. No, I don't know. Bex animation stop. We'll see. All right. So let's make a new version of that. Boom. Animation is not running. I have no idea why that demo. Maybe because it just hasn't. I'm a little confused. Maybe it has to wait for the next frame to start the. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. Yeah, I would think this is running, and I think if I run this right now, I would expect this to start running based on what I see in this demo here. I'm not explicitly starting an animation. So it should be running, right? So maybe when the thing is actually added to the scene, then the animation starts. So I would expect that if I run this, it just immediately starts running. But it does not. If I do this, what about that? It does not. Okay. It is started. It is running. Elapsed time. What am I doing differently? Add animation. Does it have to be added to the root? I don't think so. Animation step event. I don't believe that's true. Like, this is an animation program. I haven't actually used this animation thing. I did use it once. Oh, I used it here. Like, I'm using it right here. This is what's causing it to change colors, right? Nothing else says color random. Do I have to return yourself? I don't think so. When and do should when do should yeah, it returns self. Meaning it doesn't return anything. There's no return, so it returns self implicitly. So this is redundant, but just as a right. There's a sanity check. Run this again. Yeah, okay. And then if I instead of saying root, I just say element. So maybe it doesn't element. How about we say PR pane, PR panel. And we'll say match parent. What I'm trying to do is make this run over here rather than do this. Rather than run in a space, a new window, let's run it over here in the previewer. Okay, preview, that's running. That animation is running. And we don't have keyboard keys. We're not getting this, but we're getting the animation. There are two places where there's an animation event. This code is messed up, but oh, sorry, wait. I see, I copied this. This does nothing. This right here does nothing. This is not an animation. It's saying relocate the hero. That's garbage. But here, this, maybe this does require yourself. I don't think it should require the word yourself there. I think this is sufficient. We add the hero here. Okay, boom. Yeah, that's sufficient. So why? Add animation. Full handler is also not working. I don't understand. Full handler should allow it to move. Horizontal pane new. Oh, probably because the horizontal pane is. So we say GS object. I picked horizontal pane because it had a match parent defined. But if we do this, this should work too. Yeah. But it lays it out so the relocate is the pull handler is the pull handler allows you to move things around. What is going on here? I don't know what to make of this. I'm gonna just stop. I believe this animation is running now. It is started. It is running. Lapse time 0 seconds. Infinity duration 1 second. Delay 0 seconds. Elapsed time. I did add the animation, right? I initialize. I add the animation. Make Bex animation, which is there. New. Self halt. This might pop up a million windows. So I'm gonna save this just in case. Come on. Yeah, I don't know why it takes so long sometimes. Go. Okay. So I guess we have to wait. We have to do this. Happens in startup, but we're not getting. Oh, right. The next time I run this, I would expect to see a debugger message. Cannot be started multiple times without step. It says progress queued, or state is queued. Running and it started, but it. I don't get what I'm doing differently. Halfway to game engine. Hero is an element. It's added to the scene and it has an animation. And here, self is a sketch app, right? Which is a. Am I mistaken in thinking this is part of the scene? GS object? Yeah, so we are a GS object. We're element. We're added to the scene graph. This is never fired yet. This is only referenced in that one spot right now, so this never happens. Make Bex animation, we return it. This never runs. Why? I must be doing something really stupid. BL animation new. Let's pop this out. Put them side by side. BL animation new. I don't have a lot of room, do I? Okay, so BL Sketch App, we'll control click that, get a new window here. Initialize. Okay, self add animation, right? Add event handler. All right, so BL element new. So we're at some element, we have a size, we relocate geometry, background, add event handler, and then finally we add an animation, right? And the animation is this. Add animation, self make Bex animation. So this in parentheses should be inside of self make Bex animation, which we return. Return Bex animation. BL animation new. Do animation step event. BL animation step event. Maybe E infinite, is that doing something weird? Shouldn't. That should be returning the same thing. It should be returning the new animation. Right? I'm baffled here. I'm gonna do it like that. just so it's exactly the same. In case there's some weird thing happening. I call it P instead of E, but other than that, that's the same. It's identical. The logic is identical. It's running. I get no halt. There it halts. Why don't I get the animation step event? I'm set after every animation step with a current progress. Okay. This is I shouldn't be wasting time on this. This should be just working. Like even if you just run it, right? Hang on. Could it be? No. I was gonna say, like, is there some order to like when I'm doing these things? It's different. Add the animation and immediately say when. There's no other reference to this animation, right? You never say animations anywhere. We never say start animations. It's just animation step event. It's just there. It just works. This is the wrong one, but and I demonstrated to myself that it works even with just a plain old GS object, so it should work in GS app. I do have a thing called animations in apps. Okay, maybe I've screwed up, overridden something. Add animation. Nope, that came right out of. I haven't overwritten this. This is out of block. Came right out of block. I'm baffled here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Is it RPN step? Oh, that's working. The halt never runs, and this never runs. This should X animation. Okay, doesn't work. Start. Cannot start multiple times without stop. Okay, well, stop then. Nothing. I don't get it. Like if they both didn't work, that would make sense. Add animation. Same thing, block BL element. Add animation. Base animation target self in queue task a base. The task is in queue. Okay. Could it be because I'm like I can't imagine why this would be the case, but could it be because there's an animation and the reference to it? Like, is that enough to screw it up? If so, that would be crazy. But okay, there's a thing. Now, just down here, we'll say make a new Pharaoh block, and we'll put it down here so we keep this thing running. And we'll say animation, and it's here. But it's got it's got an elapsed time. Repeats 18, whereas this one what's the difference? One second. Delay 0 seconds. Float infinity. Progress is a number between 0 and 1, but here it's 0. Repeats is, I bet if I run this again, it's like a big number, 72 times. Is started true, is running is true. Start time, but elapsed time. So why doesn't it start? Maybe the halt is throwing it off? Let's take out all the effects animation. Let's take this out. Maybe it's running that step event and handling it, and rather than showing it, like it's trapping the halt somehow. I would not expect that, but and if so, it's possible that RPN step fails as well. But I don't think so. But okay, let's try it. Not be started multiple times without stop. This is a different one. Close this, start over. X sketch app. Look at the Bex animation. It has not started. Here we're adding it to a sketch app, which is running inside of an inspector. Here we're running it in a GS object that's running it inside of an inspector, and it works. Right? Did I change the way live view works? Yes, I did. Oh, look at that. Okay, this is the problem. Self is not ever added to the Only the UI is added. If I run this, now if I run it, it's gonna work. Running. In fact, I bet it's running already. Maybe. I'd expect this to. No, it hasn't started yet. Now it's been started. For 0 seconds. Okay. Well, how about rather than change that, where did I do that? I did that here, right? Revert that. And then in make UI, we'll go back here. In make UI, come on, we'll change that to add the instead of self, add the and initialize rather than self animation. We'll say UI add animation. I think I find that weird. Ah, there we go. A stack is empty. Okay, so I've seen this example step. Oh, and if true, self return. Right. So this is what I want, but if true, maybe in return. So now the stack is the control stack is empty. If true, so in step, say if, or rather, control size greater than 1, greater than 0, if true, then we will return, meaning the return op will run. If false, self end. And then in end, we're going to send that event. So this is all garbage now. Maybe self reset stays the same. And self send. We don't have an event for that, but we'll say announcer higher event announce DL Bex interpreter done event. And we do have to send in an IP because it's going to screw up the bugger. Okay. Okay, I think we can get rid of this now. You know what the problem is. We now have animations running, so close this. And one more time. Did not understand announce, right? Because it's trying to pick up that IP there. Is a parameter on the done event, not the again. Oh, because I didn't make it a Bex interpreter event. Okay. I didn't need to say IP at all. Maybe I will in the future, but I don't think we need to. And I think this is running now. Do that. A lot easier to clear if you have the button, so delete. And then all right, so just let's inspect that now. I think this is running. Well, it's at progress 0. That would be a tremendous. Okay, so that it is started, but it's not running. If I run it, now what? Running and it started, but no progress, no loops. That seems weird. Insertion failure. I must be running. So it's not running? Is running false? We click on it. We say, is running true? Running true. Repeats 1. Maybe you have to say be infinite every time you start it? Infinite. Why? Started and it's running. But if that were true and you press this button, you would see it play. Okay, I bet the end event is being triggered somehow. I bet I screwed that up. So if the instruction pointer is greater than token size, if true, and the control size is greater than 0, so there's something on the stack, return. Otherwise, self end. And then so that means we don't need to use this command here in load. So we can revert that change. In initialize, we said make the animation, make when interpreter done event, do Bex animation stop. It could be that we need more of a delay here, and it's like running through everything and then stopping. So let's see if let's put a command in here. Rather, when it's done, when Bex interpreter done event, do self halt. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, so actually that's probably good, right? Because it's stopping because there's nothing to do. Right? So let's put this back. Right? It's stopping. It's kind of like the right thing to do. So it ran, it stopped, and now we're gonna give it this. And because I pressed that button, we get this other panel over here. But if we don't want that, we can just stand here and then hit play. Okay. Not be started multiple times without stop. But it's not running? Now why isn't it running? It's supposed to be running. But there's no repeats, there's no progress, there's nothing. Maybe because it stopped before. Oh, let's put that halt back in there. So, because maybe this is triggering over and over again, even though I've loaded the. Right, so self halt. We do expect to see this immediately upon starting the application. Right? Yep, there's the halt. Proceed. Oh, maybe I closed the debugger and that debugger was like halted because of the error in that thread or something. I don't know. I run this. I'm not going to open the other debugger. Got this, and then I press play to start it again. Nope. Okay, well, let's take the halt out for a second. I don't know why that's happening. Let's just ignore this. Let's ignore this thing for now. So it's going to keep doing the steps. If it can, right? Just going to keep doing steps forever if it can, and then ignore those events. So it should be running right now. Yes, it's repeated 7 times. I run this again. It's repeated 11 times. Okay. I don't really get what's happening, but I'm going to shrink this down super, super small so I can see the whole image here. I'm going to run this. And it's running. So something about stopping the animation and then restarting. I'll have to ask about that. I don't know. Okay, so if I reset this, it runs again. Okay. That's what I want to see. Maybe I will just keep that animation playing forever. Sending that step event on every frame. And actually put the pausing and halting and all that stuff in the RPN interpreter. This doesn't render fast enough. Oh no! Wait, what? What happened there? Like I would think this would be responsive while it. Maybe it was just waiting for this, for like something to. This shouldn't be blocking that thread. I think. If I just run this, I'm thinking I should be able to drag this around. Yeah, I can work on this while it's running, which is what I expect. I'm not sure why the debugger doesn't load. All right, so is there a pause for this task? These things rather than stop? Because you would. What if I just said X animation stop? I know this is very hard to read. It's very hard for me to read. And then Vex animation start. I just run this again. What if I just say stop? And run this, and now this is queued, it's there, and I want to hit that play button, it should start it, because that should run Vex animation start. Oh. If I double click this and right click on it, I should be able to browse that thing. Vex animation. BL animation. Should be the same. I mean, I'm just hoping we're not. Where's the debugger? I know this is super, super tiny to read. Let me make that bigger again. Okay, well, this one's tiny too. They're the same thing. It's the same object as far as I can tell. This is some kind of internal thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that button would not work. Is it it's not. I'm I'm why did I do that? I wanted to say add animation, and then in the run button, action is Vex animation start. I don't see why this would make it. I want to try this. I feel like I'm trying something stupid because like something is I don't understand is happening, and I'm like questioning basic assumptions about how small talk works, which I think is wrong. Like this should not make a difference. Yeah, it doesn't. This stopped. When I hit play, it does not start. But if I do this and just say Vex animation start, I do not get this at all. I'm very, very confused. This is inconsistent behavior. As far as I can tell, this is inconsistent. Yes, this works. Why? I changed no code, now it works. There's some state being changed. Okay, we've reached the end. Is it because that window popped up? Is running. What do we say run instead of start? I think that's what we do. I think we change this to run. We change this to Bex animation run. I think that's my mistake. Not a mistake. I just didn't know any better. Well, I mean, it's a mistake. I didn't know any better. That's what I was doing wrong. I think. Yes, that's a hypothesis. Right. So in the button, we're gonna say self run, and this was nonsense. I don't even know. Like I was feeling stupid while I was doing it, but sanity check kind of thing. I don't need a. It doesn't hurt to have an accessor for that, but I don't need to use one. All right, so let's run this again. I think if I press this button, it's okay now. It's not going to give me an error about it already being started, right? Yeah. And we say run. I think if I run this, actually, I think if I just do this, then it's going to put the code in here. And if I do this now, what happens? Oh, it didn't come back. I wonder if stopping it clears the. I wonder if animation. So, I wonder if the BL animation. Okay, so meta. Oh. What's different? So what's different between a base animation and a BL animation? So apply value does nothing. Compute delta does nothing. Duration. Easing, initialize. Value for step. We have something here. Maybe I did that. Okay, so this is some issue with the state. Should be able to break this out into its own little thing. So if I click on this, I would expect this to work. Yes, it's running. Everything's going fine. It's drawing its picture. It stopped. Okay, I'm going to reset it and run it again. Everything's fine. It might make sense to mark some of these words as being like waiting for action, like they do something that requires something to happen, so that you don't have to wait for the next tick to run them. I may do that. Already 8 o'clock. Okay. So this works. I guess that's fine. I can run them over and over again, but I want to be able to step them. And so I don't, if I say BL animation stop, wait, hang on a second. What does run do? Run says should stop, self stop. Is there a pause? Running. Run. I wonder if stop is the wrong thing. Maybe I just want something that is codify on finished handler. Each action per I'm guessing that the stop is causing it to finished. I bet internally something is stopping it and removing all the event handlers. Like BL element is doing that. Like I bet. I'm guessing maybe it's possible. That's my guess here. But this is a task as well, so maybe task has a pop. No. So I just want to add a pause thing on here. I think I want to avoid running these. Is running. Let's add a thing called pause, and we'll say, wait, hang on a second. Oh, we'll just say is running is false. Is running equals false. And then this is going to be part of, I guess, Bex. So this is called an extension method. So we're adding it from our package. Okay, so is running is false. And that way, rather than saying stop, no, step. And have next loop should be something about like how many loops there are. Loop count is infinite. Self is infinite. It's true. Okay, I'm guessing this is going to work. Run. Yeah, I think this is going to work. I think we just toggle is running and then I'll run again when we want to run. Rather than calling stop, let's call pause. I think they just weren't thinking about this. Like this was not something that came up in Block before, like because no one made an animation tool. They just made animations, made scripted animations, but not like this. This clicking this should run and draw the thing. Yes. Okay. And then if I say pause, Okay. And then if I say run again, so close. Wait, this doesn't turn that on. So pause implementers. This is the one I added. Okay. So then we'll say unpause. Or I think there's play, right? Is running equals true. Then we say play and run this. Is running false. Is running true, but it's not running. Why doesn't it? Why? I don't get that at all. Pause. Play. I could move these to the RPN thing. I think I was talking about that earlier. Browsing, and then I just say RPN pause and play. And I think I'm going to do that because this is silly. Then it's under my control in interpreter, and we'll say pause and pause self pause equals true. Let's say paused equals true. Add this as temporary pause, not temporary variable. This will be part of the execution system, and then resume, call it, and then paused equals false. Why that just popped up. And then in step, we will say paused if true, and then return self. So just do nothing and ignore the event. That tells me this one just sent me that message. So let's close all this. Catch up. Ooh. No Boolean receive. Oh, because we have to initialize it. In the initialize, we say, or actually in here, browse class, and initialize for this thing, we say pause equals. Maybe it's true to begin with. Pause true to begin with, and then when we tell it to run something, yeah, like that. And rather than saying resume, we'll call this run. Rename this run. Yeah. We'll just call it run. Save it. And then in resume, we will delete this. So maybe even play. What was the old one? Run. Yeah, I think I like play better. Play and pause. Okay, and then in the button that we make here, the run button will be play. Not Vex animation play, rather RPN play. And then we start over, no errors. We say, actually, that now pause, we can actually add to the code. So if we say right here, right before we do this, we want to say pause, then we can run this, and it should run. Oh, it didn't run. Oh, because it's paused to begin with, right? And so we say semicolon play, and that way this will play automatically. So run this, and it hit pause, and Beck's RPN interpreter did not understand pause. But why not? Because there's a method called pause. Play, and then where did I put pause? I didn't save it? Okay, well, pause, then pause equals. So try that again. I don't think I had to refresh that. So now if I just run this, it should start drawing, and then it should stop where it's hit pause. So that's a programmatic breakpoint. Okay. And then we should add a pause button here, and it should be able to run. And if I do this, it should resume. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm gonna make this live and just like hot. So make it not pause to begin with. So initialize is gonna be. I'm gonna leave this alone. Do I even want that? We don't need that. I think this is okay. I think we're just going to ignore that event as well if we're running. Yeah, and that way so it's like a live thing that's always running. Like it's always running, and then if you feed it a token, it's gonna respond. I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. This is a detail. This is about the animation. Like it has nothing to do with the language really. Anyway, it's just like the interpreter is always running, and if a message shows up, then it's going to respond. Probably wasting a few CPU cycles that way, but okay, why is that not working? Yeah, okay, I just because it was paused. And the pause is there. Resume. I am liking that. There's pause again. Yeah. Interesting that pause. When you say self halt, I think it. Like if you just type in like self halt in the debugger here, or not anywhere, like you're on this method here, rather than on the next thing. I'm not sure how I would. I have to write some kind of special logic for that because it's normally showing the thing that's about to execute. You don't want to say, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. I guess if it's pop, right? You don't want to. Oh, maybe if it's paused, just show the thing. Show the thing that you just executed or something. I don't know, or put some other special thing on this. I don't know. I think I'm about out of time. I think people are probably going to be coming home because it is 8:20 and they should be coming home and double check. I think they might even be outside looking at the map here. Nope, but they're on their way. Or maybe not. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then finish. Everything's good. I'm gonna add a pause button. I think I'm done. I think I'm gonna call it a night. And this should be easy now. So this should be in the Sketch app. We're gonna make the run button. We're also gonna make a pause button. Pause button. Gonna be a new thing on here. Button, and it's paused, and it's gonna be paused, pause. Why is this assignment is not needed? Yes, it is. Oh, because I made it a local variable. Incorrect. It should be a slot. Okay. And so now next time I run this, there should be, oh, no, we have to actually add it to the, in make UI, we say make run button, and then self make pause. Kind of large, right? I think I've seen pause buttons that are much smaller than that. Oh, it doesn't matter. Running now to begin with, everything's fine. You can click these buttons as much as you like. Do anything. Until you give it a program to run. Oh, yeah, this does not animate. We can get rid of the word pause here. And make this huge and keep it. We'd have to restart it, right? Also, I find myself clicking here and then it adds this stuff. So that's the graph tool. Normally you want the select tool started so you can drag things around. And I had done that differently because I was primarily interacting with this as the graph tool. But I think I want to change that now because now that I'm primarily interacting through a scripting interface, I think that I will change that so that the initial tools are, so this is something, current tool is graph tool. I'm going to just remove that, and normally you would get the first tool. Let's close that and make sure that, yeah, select is now selected so I don't screw up the screen every time I click up here accidentally. This will work. Oh, no, it did not. So I never changed it to be playing unpaused by default. So initialize. No, it's in the RPN interpreter class. Initialize here. I don't know where that is, so I'm going to for accessing and initialize. You might even put this inside of initialization. That way, the next time you run, this doesn't refresh on its own. Something I made. Little browse tool. I just I like to be able to see the groups here, so I made this thing, but it doesn't update everything yet. It doesn't always give you a live view. In fact, it never gives you a live view, or it does as soon as you click, but whatever. Yeah, so initialization, initialize, and then here paused is false. Okay. So just add the code immediately. Then it just immediately starts playing, and I like that. And I can drag it around and watch it go. Move this up. I should probably have this in source code control too. Now the main interface to the animation I make. Worst case, I could drag it off. I could copy it off the screen. Yeah, so now I can move this around. I can select while it's animating. I probably shouldn't be redrawing this on every frame. I should probably adjust that a little bit. But, yeah, I think this is good. So I still want to do some work on the, how do I see the big debugger now? I guess I have to say RPN, right? I'd have to say RPN and then just inspect that. Or I could click that button. And then pause this. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to test, that I could pause it in the middle. This is not in sync. This is not receiving those events, and so it's not drawing. And it probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't be doing that. You probably don't. I don't know. Maybe you do. Or if I'm going to do a video of this thing running, maybe I want to show the steps as they go. Not like a live stream, but like, I don't know. Maybe I would want to be able to see the, to make an animation of the machine running and saying, oh well, you can see it churning and doing its thing and watch it run and that kind of thing. Oh, maybe people just want to see that. So I got to fix that bug. That should be fixable with this. And I do want to fix this, but I'm not going to worry about that today. I think I've made plenty of progress on the UI for this thing, and I will keep working on the animation itself. What I really need to work on now is simp. So if I say pause here, right? Why is it paused? Got to the end? No, I don't know why. Anyway. If you press this button, you just run it. If you press this button, you get the inspector, and I don't want the inspector because it's bringing up my screen. But I'm used to. I normally do want it, so I'm used to hitting that button out of habit. I see, because it's paused. So at one point I had a function called run, and I'm going to put that back. And it should tell me I don't have a thing called run. And then, so I'm going to say RPN. Let's thought it would let me do Control G to inspect that meta, and just say run a string. We'll say self load a string, and then self play. And that way, pressing this will always cause it to run. And then it pauses there because I put the word pause. If I want to keep going, I can do that, and it'll pause over here. It'll pause when it's ready to. Oh, it duplicates that, and then. Oh, but it didn't pause that time. Oh, it did. Oh yeah, it did. It paused because it replaced both of those. It replaced. Yeah, the pause is on the simplification. So it's pausing because it's now ready to simplify this, but I haven't told it how to simplify it. And the way to simplify, so I'm not gonna do this on streaming right now, but I'm gonna just real briefly talk about what the plan is, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. So the plan is that when you get to this step right here, the pause step, I didn't mean to do that. That it now needs to simplify this. And so what you're looking at is the expression that says true and something. And whenever you have that, it should just get rid of the and the true and just directly connect to this. So what we should expect to see And this might completely screw up the, get rid of this, move this debugger over here. That's actually a bug in the way it moves. And then I want to delete the and the, delete this, and then draw a line from here to here. When I select that line, oops, I select that line. Now I need to get rid of this. When I select this line, it doesn't highlight the thing, but the triangle should be none. The triangle should be replaced with none. When I save that, then it should look like that. And I guess maybe adjust a little bit. I got to figure out the formatting. Maybe this needs to be moved in a little, like that. Let's see if I can resume. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, okay, so I can. Right, so now I'm going to simplify. I'm going to manually simplify this side. So this is false and something. That means all of this goes away. All of that should be deleted. And the graph can now go from here. Oh, I lost the true part. Select this. This should be a destination marker should be none, and it should be a dashed line because it's the low branch. And then this should be. Ooh, I think it actually matters which order I add them in. So let me delete these. I have to add the low branch first, I believe. I'm not sure if I had it or not. So let's do this. Select this. All dashed. And no triangle. Save it. And move this down. Maybe move this over. And then the high branch be from here to here. And get in there. I should select it as soon as you add the line, but it doesn't. Marker should be none. Okay, now I put this here. And now when I resume, so there's no simplification, but it's going to do that. Ooh, that's a mess. What happened there? I guess deleting those things in the user interface doesn't actually delete them in the in the graph structure. All right, so that's a bug because the duplication should have just given me the yeah. So so when it duplicated this, it's still seeing the old things that it was connected to. Right. So yeah. So it was like this, but they're now not arranged anywhere. Yeah. So this is the old value, right? Okay. So that needs to be fixed. So that's a bug on my end. But yeah, this is correct. This is correct given that bug. Like this is the old tree that you would have gotten. So it didn't duplicate this. And I guess why would it? I was thinking that it would, but it doesn't. So the graph tool needs to, the drawing tool needs to the drawing tool needs to observe or be notified when the edge is deleted. Or perhaps probably in the animation itself, I won't even do that. I'm not actually going to delete them because I want to be able, so you can't see this here, but in the well, do I have an animation example? Yeah, we do. That's called animation examples. We run this. Oh, come on now. Not title card scene, but yes, animation example. Oh, whatever. Not understand scene. All right, because this is now. I changed how that worked. And container name. Come on now. New. Trying to find like an animation that title card with animation with animated position. Very small talky name. I screwed that up. This may not be working. I'm not going to try and debug all this, but if it works, I'll try it one more time. Okay, so I need to adjust how this loads animations. I don't know why it's not working right now. Anyway, but you have this thing you slide back and forth, and that's what triggers the animations. And I want to, they're cached, right? So what should happen here is that in addition to this programmatic scripting interface to generate these to draw the animation on the screen, there should be a mode. There is going to be a mode where it generates tracks here, and so it'll say like, and there'll be hundreds of nodes, not hundreds of nodes, but many nodes here, and it'll be like the position of this thing, and when you slide it back and forth, you can see where that node moves as it tracks through the animation. That's not strictly necessary. If it runs in real time, I can just record the screen while it's running. But the intent is to cache it so that you'll be able to run it backwards, and you'll be able to pick the right place, and then you can go in and edit that event. And then, when you edit like a triggering of a, one of these things or whatever. I'm not entirely sure how this works. Like the idea is that once this is run, you will you'll be able to run this and produce a new version of the code that is like what actually happened. So it'll be a new RPN program, but it will have no definitions, and it would just say like x0 x1. And so in it would be completely flattened, and you would just get the events that actually affect the drawing. And so then those could be positioned in time, and then another pass could go through that and turn it into, actually, first of all, generate the entire screen, and then track the position of every single object, and move them off camera, move them on camera when they're ready to be used. And so then you would be able to start the scene and scrub back and forth and be able to play this animation in reverse and backwards, only for debugging purposes. Like, I mean, I guess you could, if you wanted to play the animation backwards, you could, but like, the intent would be so that you could sync it with other animations, and with the you could sync your like if you have waveforms in the timeline, you'd be able to sync it with that. So like there might just be like one track here that says like the Bex animation, and then when you scrub back and forth, it would rearrange all the nodes, because you probably wouldn't want to programmatically create an animation and then go back and edit it by hand. That's messy. I don't like that idea. But having that whole thing as a track that has many nodes moving around that you can then scrub back and forth, I like that, because then you can sync it with other animations that are on the screen. Like for example, at some point, like when you do this step, I think true and this simplification right here, true XOR x2 results in not x2, and not x2 is going to look like, well, it looks like this, right? So this would have a circle, and the other arrow is and so you get like this little dot here. And like, since I'm introducing that notation, I might want to put like a little to add to the animation, put like some little marker that says, pop something up that says this means not, and then just point at that, and not say it out loud, but just have the user, the animation do that. I really like the multimodality aspects of animation, where like in a presentation, stuff can happen on the screen, and you can be talking, and in the time it takes for me to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like, a couple words, you could have an animation on the screen, and you could have like a thing pointing at something, and that's like a secondary channel through which the user is getting information, in addition to the narrative. And I really like that. Like in my video, like comments can appear on the screen when you're typing in the REPL, and the words, like, often I'm dealing with a language like, not like this, but as equally as terse and expressive as this. I use J, and as I'm explaining the things, like little symbols appear on the screen, and like, generally what I'm saying matches up with the symbol, but I don't say, well, that's, ampersand is this, and I just talk, and then sometimes it's not obvious, and so that I put a comment next to it, and that just appears on the screen. And I really like that, and I think that kind of having two channels of information coming at you both through your eyes and through your ears gives the video I did that on has the highest retention of any. The two videos that I use that tool on, and that kind of approach, where I was doing both visual and audio stuff and typing on the, like, retention is through the roof on both of those things. And then usually, like, even now I can see I've been talking for 2 hours and 37 minutes. I've had 6 views, so thanks to everyone who popped in. I don't know if it looks like nobody's watching right now, but 2 people liked it, so thank you. But the average view duration is 3 minutes and 44 seconds. I'm slow in real time, but the videos I want to make are super, super, super fast, and they just throw a lot of information at you, and I think that keeps people on their toes. And I know that I get much better metrics on YouTube, and people give me more comments, and they thumbs up and things like that, and people like that video better. You can always slow it down if it's too fast. But I like that style, and that's what I'm really shooting for. So that's why this is on a second channel that's got my logo is all pixelated and everything it's meant to be. It's rough. Okay, well, I'm done rambling. I have my pause button here, so I have a debugger. I can pause, I can run, I can animate, I can watch it animate, I can pause it at the point where I want to inject a thing. I have a mental list of things that I need to do. I've talked about everything I've checked in, so yeah, I think I'm done. Thank you for watching, and I don't know, my schedule's kind of weird, so I don't know when I'll be on again, but subscribe and you'll be able to see the next one. I also have a Tangent Storm channel, so that's the scripted and higher production value stuff.